Equinox, world leaders gather for a back-to-school ritual in New York City. Lofty speeches where they wax lyrical about peace on earth and goodwill among us all. The speeches, well, they're generally pretty dull, but the occasion's a good one to meet and take stock of the passage of time. 2 years ago, Barack Obama enjoyed rock star status at the UN. Today, even though the United States backed uprisings in places like Egypt and Libya, while steering clear of heavy-handed intervention, even though Americans are proud to be rid of Osama bin Laden, fact is, Barack Obama lost his audience in the room on Wednesday with his refusal to immediately back Palestinian statehood. And while he's being accused outside the hall, in the United States proper, of not being pro-Israeli enough, Obama, dare we say it, upstaged by his French counterpart, who opened the speech where he pleaded for observer status for the Palestinians by saying U.S. mediation efforts have proved futile. It's not just in the Middle East where the image of the United States is back on the decline. As the economy suffers here in Western Europe, anti-American sentiment appears in some circles to be on the rise. Could Obama have done better? And what can he do to win back his audience? Today in the France 24 debate, Obama fatigue. And here to talk about it with us, Zachary Miller of Democrats Abroad. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Also with us, Stu Haugen, Republicans Abroad.
Thank you.
From Washington, Walid Fares, professor at National Defense University. Thank you for being with us. And boy, talk about the lecture circuit. Meir Javandafar, who we usually speak to out of Tel Aviv, is in Cali, Colombia. He's Middle East analyst at MIPAS. Meir, what are you doing in Cali?
Well, I'm lecturing in Latin America. I studied Spanish about 10 years ago, so I'm putting it to good use now. And yeah, I'm giving some lectures also in Colombia and spending some time here before moving on soon to Canada.
All right, when we'll be getting to you in a moment. And by the way, to see if it's wise to be dropping Obama's name on the campaign trail in this country, remember we have presidential elections coming up in 2012. Let's welcome Thierry Marchal-Beck of the youth wing of France's Socialist Party. You can, by the way, weigh in on the conversation on the France 24 debate Facebook page and on Twitter, where our handle is @FrancoisF24. Let me begin with Walid Fares in Washington. Walid, or in Bucharest, excuse me. You're also on the out and about. First of all, Walid, what are you doing in Bucharest?
Well, there is that big meeting of members of the European Parliament over the issues of the Black Sea, but they wanted to have a view on the Arab Spring as well. So I'm lecturing as well here to your east this time, not to your west.
All right, so Walid moving east and Meir moving west for today. Walid, did you get a chance to catch Barack Obama's speech?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We listened to the speech and, of course, the reactions that are coming now from the region and also from within the United States, absolutely.
Tell us what you think.
Well, look, I mean, it's not a secret to anyone who is involved or analyzes or observes, American politics and international relations and the link. When the president said that last year he committed or he opened the path for what he thought could become a Palestinian state, two things did not happen. Were not happening yet. One is the Arab Spring. This is a huge development that has not ended yet. I mean, there are things in the Arab Spring that are positive, but there are things that are still very worrisome in many places, on the one hand. So he spent a lot of his energy, he and his foreign policy team, on addressing the Arab Spring. The other thing, it's just very domestic, and our representatives of the two parties can maybe confirm that. There has been a change in the majority in Congress. And that's maybe the most important signal for the president to be very careful in whatever he's going to say with regard to international relations. And this issue has domestic, audience in America. So I think his speech is basically saying, I'm still committed to that Palestinian state. Excuse me, but I can't do it this year.
Can't do it this year. We can hear Barack Obama now, the U.S. president, recognizing that need for a Palestinian state. Certainly not this week. Take a listen.
Now, I know that many are frustrated by the lack of progress. I assure you, so am I. But the question isn't the goal that we seek. The question is, how do we reach that goal? And I am convinced that there is no shortcut to the end of a conflict that has endured for decades. Peace is hard work. Peace will not come through statements and resolutions at the United Nations. If it were that easy, it would have been accomplished by now.
Zachary Miller, Barack Obama, did he have an alternative to saying not now?
I think the alternative is, as he just spoke about, it's constant work toward it. But what would the resolution do? I mean, on practical points, would it really bring peace, or would it be another resolution that the UN has created? I think what this president has wanted to do, and with this, not only this president, but presidents back till Carter, have tried to put together some sort of Middle East peace, and I think this president is dedicated toward that goal, but I think he doesn't believe that peace written on a piece of paper on a UN resolution can replace real peace between the two states.
The French president, Nicolas Sarkozy, taking the podium shortly afterwards, proposing a timetable for an Israeli-Palestinian peace with resumed talks in 1 month, agreements on borders and security in 6 months, and a final deal in 1 year. And he also took a swipe at the U.S. president, the French president, focusing solely on that one issue.
Nous ne pouvons plus attendre.
We can wait no longer.
La méthode utilisée jusqu'à présent.
I think the method, and I choose my words carefully, that we have used until now has failed. Let us change the method. Let us stop believing that a single country, be it the biggest, or a small group of countries, can resolve so complex a problem.
Do you agree, Stuart Haugen, that with Nicolas Sarkozy?
Well, I don't think any external forces are going to resolve this problem. I believe that the answer lies between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and anything that gets between that, including a potential resolution at the UN, is going to defer that discussion, and it's not going to help to solve the problem. I would also just point out that George W. Bush, while I'm not here to defend him, was the first person who put down on publicly that he supported a two-state solution. All I would suggest is we've moved further and further away from resolution under Barack Obama. Nicolas Sarkozy is showing his frustration at lack of leadership on the global level. And so as the rest of the world, the global leadership situation in the United States, we don't have one anymore. We can't lead at home and we can't lead abroad because we don't know where we're going.
What the audience in that room wanted, for the most part, was for Barack Obama to push for that Palestinian statehood that Mahmoud Abbas may or may not.
In my mind, a total waste of time. As Zach, I think, has said, it's not a solution that's going to bring any on-the-ground solution. It's not going to fix anything on the ground because the UN says something. We've, 3 times since 1948, 3 times the Palestinians have been offered a solution that gave them more territory than they're asking for today. 3 times they've turned it down, followed by violence in every case. Until Palestinians get leadership and they sit down and talk to the Israelis, it's not going to happen.
Thierry Marchal-Beck.
I think what just have been said is not...
it's factually accurate.
It's not totally true because...
No, it's factually accurate. Tell me why it's not true.
When it's not, when you don't...
3 times they've been offered more territory than they were offered than they're asking for today. They've turned it down.
No, it's not because in Camp David with...
No, I'm talking about back to 1948. There were 3 solutions on the table that gave them more territory than they had today.
Okay, but it was an invasion of their territory at that time. You should remember that.
Invasion of their territory. The Palestinians don't have a territory, just like the Jews didn't have a territory.
Let me put the question otherwise. Thierry Marchal-Beck, what should Barack Obama have... Go ahead, Mayer Javandafar.
Sorry, I appreciate the conversation there, but unfortunately we can't make yesterday a better place. We can talk about what happened before, and of course history is an important teacher. But I think President Obama here did what he could, considering the fact that his #1 priority is his own political survival. I think he's trying to basically reach out to the both sides, but he's very careful not to distance and isolate the Jewish vote in America and those people who care for Israel deeply. And I think he did what he could, and I think was a fairly speech within the limits that he had. I think this speech we can't expect anything more than President Obama this year or at the next UN Assembly in 2012. Because he'll have an election waiting for him. But if he wins again, I think the next time he speaks in 2013, he's not going to be so kind to us in Israel. I think he's going to take a tougher line. Of course, the Palestinians have made mistakes. Of course, they have rejected peace agreements, and they are fully culpable of that. But I think right now the Israeli government, the perception is giving to 99% of the international community is that it too is not interested in a fair solution whereby the Palestinians also have a viable country. I think the fact that Israel continues to build settlements at this moment, it's causing great damage to our credibility, and it's actually undermining Israel's interest in the long term. And of course, the Palestinians also have some faults on their own end as well. But I think for now, the most important priority for President Obama is his own political survival. And I don't think the Israeli government is going to show much flexibility at this moment, because we know that President Obama's got these elections coming up. He can't do much, so we have to wait and see. If Rick Perry is elected or another Republican candidate, then it'll be fantastic news for Israel and those who want continued expansion of settlements. But if Obama is elected again in 2013, I think it will be a completely different story.
Stuart Haugen? Will it be fantastic news for Israel if Republicans elected?
I think it'll be better news. I mean, it's Rick Perry said it the other day, and I'm not forcibly a fan of Rick Perry, so I'm not speaking on his behalf. But he did say, "Tell Israel it helps on the way." I would suggest that either any of the Republican candidates to date will probably be a better friend to Israel than has Barack Obama been.
Well, I think I want to point out something here, that both Rick Perry and Mitt Romney were condemned by a number of Republicans today. The Republican candidates for president were condemned by a number of Republicans for their undermining the president's speech today and what the U.S. is trying to do in negotiating this possible statehood. Now, former Congressman Joe Scarborough said on his television show today that he was ashamed of what Rick Perry and Mitt Romney had done. Rick Perry was in New York with foreign Israeli right-wing leaders condemning what the president was doing, and that was, even to the most conservative Republicans, that was really something that should not have been done.
I want to get back to something that Stuart Haugen said earlier about the George Bush investing himself in the peace process. It happened 7 years into his presidency. Barack Obama named a Mideast envoy, George Mitchell, just 2 days after his inauguration back in January 2009. Yet when Benjamin Netanyahu defied Obama, most notably by the surprise building of settlements during the visit of his Vice President Joe Biden, relations certainly turned frosty. Walid Fares, what can be done to bring those parties to the table at this point?
Well, there are two heavy facts that we need to focus on to understand where the conversation begins between Palestinians and Israelis. One is historical, which was mentioned a few minutes ago, and the other one is regional. And we can't operate without those 2 points. The first one was, in 1947, yes, the United Nations voted for what we thought it would vote for this year, some 60 years later, which was Resolution 181, saying that there would be a Jewish state and there would be a Palestinian state. The Jewish state formed, it became Israel. The Palestinian state did not form for a variety of reasons and wars and what have you. The difference today is not the principle of 2 states. Everybody agrees, including the Israelis. It's the issue of the map that the PA is bringing to New York. And that map has territories and has half of Jerusalem in the Palestinian state, which is something that the Israelis have not agreed on. That's the bottom line. That's the difficulty of it. There is other things, Francois. Regionally speaking, did we notice that when the PA came to New York, which other force in the Middle East among the Palestinians said, anything you achieve there does not represent us? Hamas. So we have a split Palestinian position. One is coming with a map that the Israelis do not agree with, and the other is not even discussing any map because it doesn't want to have, a 2-state solution, i.e. Hamas. So I think the task of the United States or President Sarkozy or others is not a minimal task by saying, well, in 1 year we're going to negotiate. It's really deep issues of disagreement between both sides.
Thierry Marchalbeck, the French president, Nicolas Sarkozy, he's a conservative, you're a socialist. Yes. He said, hey, we got to move forward. Observer status for the Palestinians right away, a process to get a final peace deal within a year. What do you think that the militants in your party think of that? Do they agree?
I think we agree with one thing. We need to have a peace process very, very, very quickly, because the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is a conflict in all across Europe, in all across the Mediterranean world, and it's not only by playing little bit of politics in the United States during a presidential elections. We've got issues of identity in France, in Europe, and in the Middle East because of that conflict. And so what is the reality today? Israel have got a state. It's recognized. They've got a state. They've got parliament. They've got an army. Palestinians don't have a state. Can we say that at the international level? Because we need to change something. So it's a game of chess. You need to do something else. And I think one of the big mistakes.
So how disappointed are French voters with Barack Obama on this?
As a leftist point of view, my point of view is that Barack Obama had, if he wanted to change things in the Middle East, he had to go inside his party and to fight inside his party, because who's in the U.S. who sell weapons to the Israeli government, and today, if he changes his position in 1 year, because he's terribly afraid to lose the Jews' vote in New York, in the East Coast, like the Democrats lost a campaign, because it's sad to say that some U.S. citizens who are of a Jews confession, they go to synagogue today. They think that it's better to vote for the Republicans than for the Democrats. So the reason why Obama today is not doing everything he can in order to make peace in the Middle East is because he's afraid to lose one of his base. One of the base of the Democratic Party, the Jew votes in the East Coast, and that it's. I don't understand why he's not saying to us, "I support Israel. I want the states of Israel to be at peace, but we will never have a strong state of Israel without a Palestinian state, and we need it better today." That tomorrow.
If Obama had those kind of leadership skills, he would not be below 40% in approval ratings in the United States.
I don't think leadership skills
in
or anything
fairness
the
to
Republicans
Barack Obama,
can talk
he did
about.
in his speech today say that you do need a two-state solution. He reiterated
He said that today. He said it last year at the UN also. So he's been saying this consistently. What he isn't saying is that we are going to enforce it, or that the UN could possibly, create a resolution that can enforce it.
But do you understand the disappointment then of all the people who were in that room at the UN as a result?
Well, I understand the disappointment in this room.
I'll side with Zach on this one. We can't impose that solution. That has to happen on the ground.
But the other thing is, too, it's
you
not
are the
so
one
much
sailing the weapon. You can change
No,
things.
the weapons have
You are
nothing
the
to do with
United
it. The weapons have nothing to do with it.
We're going to take a quick break.
It's a lack of leadership on the Palestinian side.
We'll get back to this issue and move on. Stay with us. The France 24 debate continues.